EDG episode 119. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
We're married to that 119, and next week we're gonna be 120.
No,
or we just gonna
I don't
go
know. I don't know.
120?
Just whatever I
Okay.
want. So whatever
Play with it week to week.
As I read it, I'm like 119, 11. I don't know. Like it
Yeah.
literally is an impulse decision as I'm speaking.
Yeah, I figured every week it kind of changes. We every set of 10 episodes, the intro is slightly different. Appreciate it.
Keep some people on their toes, make them think about something. I might say like the wrong episode number one time and see if anybody notices.
You say that, but then it's gonna mess with our editor, or something's gonna happen. It's gonna be like, "Good job, Dave."
All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts on podcast services every Thursday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. We live stream the show on twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming typically on Tuesday nights, anywhere between like 6 and 9 o'clock, depending on our schedules. But we've been pretty consistent with Tuesdays, so I can say Tuesday evenings. I can feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And now next week will be Monday Watch.
Don't say that.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of show links in the show notes. So you can go to our website, digitaldaysgaming.com. You can follow us on Twitch, follow us on YouTube, TikTok, all those things. If you can leave us reviews on your podcast service, if possible, that's extra helpful. And then just sharing the show, retweets and shares on Facebook are a little bit better than just liking something, just because if you share it, somebody else might see it that maybe has an interest in a video game podcast. They might listen to us. I don't know. So, all right. And we also have a Teesprings account, so you can check that out and see if you want a new shirt or hoodie. And that's all we have on there for now. We keep talking about adding more stuff, and we haven't done it, so I'm not going to say it. So,
yep.
All right. Let's go into the news. Lighter week this week, but might be a shorter show. So.
Yeah, the first bit of news, we have to mention this because I gave Sony so much shit for trying to do this last year, 2 years ago. Nintendo is closing their eShops for the Wii U and 3DS. Nintendo announced that they will close both of those shops by March 2023. To make it a little bit more difficult, you're no longer going to be able to purchase stuff with your credit card starting May 23rd, and then you won't be able to use eShop points past August 29th, or reload eShop points.
So it really
August
closes
29th.
in August.
Yeah, because until then, you're fine. Nintendo did say for this foreseeable future, they will allow the ability to re-download purchased content even after the stores close. The keyword being there, foreseeable future, or foreseeable being the keyword there in terms of how long they'll keep that up. No console manufacturers stopped you from re-downloading games you purchased, but this, I feel like, is the first one that they actually kind of left some vagueness with it.
Because most of the other consoles always had, like, essentially, I refer to it as a library because that's just what PlayStation calls it, and that's what I interact with the most. But like your owned purchases, you could always just go into a separate file essentially and pull them, or a separate folder and pull them.
Separate menu, yeah.
Right, you didn't have to go into the store interface to get them. If you tried to go into the store interface to get something that you already owned, it would tell you in most cases that you already owned it, unless it was a different version of the game for whatever reason. But it's super interesting that they're talking about that. And I don't know this, and this is just I just thought about this. You can't play Wii U games on anything else currently because of how they function.
Well, they've been porting them as new releases on the Switch, but you can't put a disc in,
I can't play Wind Waker if I own it digitally on the Wii U on my Switch.
They made each virtual console separate from each other, even if they have the same games for the most part.
So even if they closed the PS4 store, like as an example, and said, "Hey, we're just changing it to the PlayStation Store," and you buy whatever on there, and like I think that would be almost more acceptable. Like this is the same thing that they're having from the Vita.
Well, right now I think the Vita store is closed, but you can still access the Vita store technically through the PlayStation Store and the PS3. I think that's how that works now.
Right, and then you just like USB your Vita to the PlayStation or whatever if you're downloading something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nintendo did put up a FAQ at one point. They deleted the post though when they asked about will they release virtual console games again in the future. They disappointed people to Nintendo Switch Online, the subscription service for that virtual console, which seems like that is their answer for this, in terms of like, yes, those virtual consoles will be closed forever, and we probably won't be bringing those virtual consoles back because the subscription model is so much more beneficial business wise for them. So this effectively will kill the virtual console platforms. The WiiU eShop offered over 300 games on their virtual console, and I'm talking about like backwards compatible games or like re-releases of old games. And then Nintendo 3DS eShop offered around 191 eShop virtual console games. So there's just a lot of old stuff that Nintendo absolutely hates piracy, but they're kind of pushing people into
Right.
like, hey, if you want to play these old games, we're not going to offer them anymore for you to play. But if you do anything else, we will come for your family.
Yeah, and it's super interesting as well because like there's not another, you can't, if somebody for some reason gets a 3DS and wants to play an old game, like you can't. Like, I mean, you can. I guess you can go find the hardware, the physical cartridge, hopefully, and then hope it's not like tremendously marked up. You know, like the store, like,
which already started before this announcement.
Yeah,
Now
like
after, it's going to get even worse.
Like the store is gone. Like this just seems weird, and I don't. I mean, obvious. I mean, Nintendo's gonna Nintendo like they have all the time, but I'm curious. Like, is there data showing that there's not enough people going on? They, you know, like, and then if there's enough backlash from it, like there was with the Vita, like, are they going to extend it? Are they going to change something? I don't think they are. Nintendo's a stubborn company. So
they closed the Wii U one. There was people that complained, or not the Wii U one, the Wii one. People complained, and then Nintendo was like, "We don't give a shit," and then they kind of got away with it. What they will see is an increase in piracy on those platforms because it's very easy to crack either system, and
without a shop, then they're going to piracy them. Somebody's going to buy it just to break it. So
yeah, and that's going to put Nintendo's lawyers to put more work in and win more lawsuits, which they've been winning. There's been news stories over the last like year or so of them being successful in all their cases, prosecuting pirates. So it's just going to push it into that. So we're probably going to hear more stories of Nintendo going after people, and we might end up finally seeing Nintendo lose a case where, a court system will eventually be like, well, you don't offer these games any other way. I don't know how well that will work, but there could be something that gets somewhat challenged of just like, you don't sell this anymore. Like people want to play it. They're going to find a way to play it.
Right.
But Nintendo's not backing down from this though. PlayStation backed down, but Nintendo won't. And I don't think Microsoft's too in on the backwards compatible game to ever shut off their stores, even though the 360 store is like atrocious. If you've used that any time in the last couple of years.
But I feel like the Xbox One and the Xbox Series store is the same. Like,
yeah, so they're fine there.
Yeah.
But so like Xbox is probably fine because they've been using the same basic store interfaces for so long. PlayStation tried to do it, got enough backlash that they backed down, but I still think we will get the PS store closure soon enough. Eventually within the next year or two, they're gonna be like, hey, we were nice last time, but we saw even less activity. We're gonna close it. And then no point to Nintendo of like, hey, you guys let Nintendo do this. They've closed 3 or 4 shops already.
Right.
We want to close the shop too.
Yeah.
So
it is what it is.
Yeah, it did get me to be like, oh shit, should I dust off my 3DS and just check the eShop a little bit? But then I stopped myself. I'm just like, I probably won't be doing that. But let's move on to the next story. This is just a Dragon Age update from Jeff Grubb. Jeff Grubb on his podcast Grub Snacks basically suggested Dragon Age 4 will release within the next 18 months, saying that we should expect it late 2023, and it is reportedly in good shape. So it sounds like it's not necessarily going to be relying on that BioWare crunch magic, but I'm sure there will be some level of that. And then when asked about a Dragon Age Legendary Edition, he basically rebuffed the idea, saying that there are no plans right now. One of the reasons being that Trilogy isn't connected like the Mass Effect one. Like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 were connected sequels. Dragon Age, while sequels, they were completely different cast of characters outside of some like side characters. And then the biggest one is the 3 games use different engines. So there's a ton more work that needs to be put in terms of the engines going from Unreal to Frostbite being like kind of an issue, as opposed to the Mass Effect games where I think they were all on the Unreal Engine. So no Dragon Age Legendary Edition.
Do you think that there's a design? I mean, obviously everybody loves their remasters and because they sell like crazy. But is there like I haven't played Dragon Age at all. Is there a desire for these older games to get kind of like shined up and
I think there is a desire definitely for the first one and a second one. Third one was on PS4, so there's less of a need for that. But getting a remaster of the first one would probably make a ton of people happy.
Does it need to be a trilogy then, or could they just do could they do them individually for like $20 or $30 even?
I think that would probably be best because again, you don't need one for Inquisition. It'll be like that the Mafia trilogy that they released where they put heavy work into 1 and 2, and then 3 they're just like, oh yeah, it's just the Game of the Year edition for the PS4 Mafia game. That would probably make the most sense, but EA right now has BioWare probably spread so damn thin. They're working on a Mass Effect game, they're working on this, and then they're revamping Battlefield with like all their artillery studios that will probably help on a remastered Mass Effect or Dragon Age. So it's just not meant to be. Though if the next Dragon Age bombs, they'll probably then go and be like, all right, let's remaster.
BioWare's done.
Yeah, they're
I hate
done.
To say it, or they're gonna get branched off and told what I don't know. I don't even know.
I think that's when
they'll make a Star Wars game.
Well, I think that's when they just kind of kill BioWare and then have them in name only as like a prestige studio that are just remastering their previous games. That's just probably where it ends up.
How do you feel about the 18-month window for Dragon Age 4? I think that if we went back and listened to other stuff, I think you said holiday 2023 anyways.
I'm pretty sure I did say 2023, 2024. The fact that it sounds like it's in good shape and there's actual information that Jeff Grubb was able to get makes me feel a little better, and it's not like, oh my god, everything's on fire that we usually hear with BioWare before a game releases. Makes me a little hopeful that this will be just fine, and then they'll be able to hit 2023, 2024.
Yeah. So, which would mean whatever EA's planned this summer for EA Play E3 / thingy, I would assume that this would be a focal point then at that point, because they could start saying holiday 2023.
It depends on when the Respawn Star Wars game is going to be ready. Because if one of the Star Wars games Respawn's working on will be ready this holiday, then we probably won't see Dragon Age till the Game Awards.
I would still think we'd see a trailer though. I think we'd see a trailer for it, and then we'd see a window, and then the Game Awards would show gameplay, and then a date.
I would hope so, but with the way EA's re-revealed this game 3 or 4 times already, I don't know if they can wait to throw out a teaser during Summer Game Fest and then do an actual trailer during that. I think they would just have to follow that circle
more than I do. So
I think they need to hit the ground running when they start announcing stuff of here's something at the Game Awards, and then here's a follow-up in March, and then the game's coming out that holiday. At least that's what I would want. So there's a lot of financial reports coming out, which means there's a lot of complaining from CEOs and stuff going on right now. So EA has a few excuses for Battlefield 2042.
I first read this as, instead of the word few, the word free. EA has a free excuse.
Yeah. So Battlefield 2042 actually sold well enough to chart high-end NPDs, but it still had a bad launch in terms of technical specs, and also sales just didn't really hold up what EA expected. So Andrew Wilson, the CEO, basically held a town hall meeting for all employees and basically blamed that teams working from home for nearly 2 years hurt the game. And there was unanticipated performance issues that led to a disappointing launch. The EA COO, Laura Miele, also decided to blame Halo Infinite for Battlefield 2042's launch, basically saying Battlefield 2042 got unfair, not favorable comparisons to Halo Infinite, which was a very polished title, whereas Battlefield 2042 had bugs and wasn't as polished.
If
Dave?
Laura thinks that that Halo was a polished, finished piece, I'm really concerned about what the bar was for Battlefield.
Well, yeah, because like Battlefield was like, was it like in December? They're like, yeah, we'll add scoreboards. It's just like, well, excuse me?
Yeah, I mean, and at the time, Halo was in like early access beta, which I think they decided to do because Battlefield was struggling. I think they saw the numbers. This also just proves that sales are not the end all be all. Like your game can chart and it can sell well, and it can chart like I don't even know in the top 10 of NPD for the year. I don't know if Battlefield 2042 did or didn't. I'm just using it as an example.
It was high the first month, and then it dropped the second month of NPDs.
But it doesn't, like, the concern that I'm seeing now is that even the people that bought it aren't playing it. And like, and so that means that as much as people hate the word, but you're not having any player engagement at all of the people that bought it.
Microtransactions,
right? Or like, just regardless, you're just not getting them to sign on, like, and to work on things to then. Those are the people that still say, "Hey, it's better." Like those are the friends that are in your ear of like me with Destiny. Like, "Hey, it's good." Like, "Oh, it's in a bad spot, but I'm still messing with it." But like, "No, it's good now. Like, you can do this." Oh, versus like coming in and being like, "What the hell is going on?" Because of anything that, especially with games that change so much. Like, I'm totally expecting to see it now with people playing Witch Queen. Like, I don't understand how this works, and I'm like, I've already ran into it with some people in February. They came back and were like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "Well, if you took a year off, like that's a lot, and if you take time off with Battlefield." And, you know, like, this has to come to EA Play, like, or Access or whatever it is, like, now.
Yeah, it's probably sooner what they were planning. They're probably planning to do their
6 months a year or whatever. Yeah, like, this has to. Like, they gotta get some people in there, partially just to see what is and isn't working.
Yeah. This was unrelated to the town hall, but there were reports that they were like playing around with the idea of going free to play for 2042, which on paper sounds like a smart move to get the player engagement, but I always have an issue when the game wasn't built for a free to play experience, then switching over to a free to play experience. I just don't feel like that would even work for them. But I can see them going that route if they have to, just because there also is like a stigma attached to if they just drop the price to $20, people are gonna be like, "Why? I'm not paying for this $20 game."
You'll have Anthem 2.0.
Like they would have to avoid going, and then if they go to free to play and it's not a full like baked in free to play experience, that also looks bad on them. And they're trying to revamp this entire franchise with the next one.
Like, so because they have EA Access or whatever you want to call it, I don't even know what it's called. I think it's EA Access.
Play Access.
Yeah. So like they should like just do it, and or put it on Game Pass, which is through EA Access, or give it away as a Plus game. Like, work with Sony to do a Plus game. Get people in this game playing it, so that then you can get even more tangible data to make significant changes. Just sitting there throwing stuff and seeing if you can make it work isn't going to work if you don't have a player base at all. So,
and it sounds like that's what they're trying to figure out right now. A good point was brought up. I forgot who mentioned this, but basically, because this was a town hall meeting, EA knew all this information was going to get out there. And I imagine they were hoping that this would like drum up some of the community to like kind of come in there. But I doubt that's going to end up doing anything for them. It's just going to show that like they have just shitty reasons. Like every studio is dealing with having to work from home.
And I'm sorry, like, and I know I'm a fanboy, but Bungie's released continuous content every 3 to 6 months for Destiny while being at home. They haven't been in their studio for 800 days.
Insomniac has released 3 big PS5 exclusives.
I mean,
single player, yes, but like
Ratchet and Clank, Spider-Man, like I mean, Returnal came out. Like there's these games. Like if you think Halo's a polished game, they did it from home too.
Yeah, and they had a way rougher time because they had to throw everything away because people just didn't like the way it looked the first time they revealed it.
So.
But it cracked me up though when they're just like they kind of just were like, well, Halo Infinite was just such a great experience. It's like Halo was good.
And Halo's player base is dying fast right now too.
Yeah, but also Halo didn't release with the single player right away. They kind of used that beta you were talking about of just like, oh, it's early access for a month, and then a single player campaign came out. So it's like they didn't really have the most polished experience. I still think last time I checked, which was like 2 weeks ago, but like their big team matchmaking or whatever, that mode was like broken. Like one of the modes in Halo were broken. So if EA is looking at Halo Infinite, like the end all be all.
343 is just waiting for May. Like, hey, season 2, blah 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 blah, and they're just like,
which is still wild to me that like I forgot season 2 was in May.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll move on. Street Fighter 6 was officially announced. I know we were kind of hoping that we might see something other than Street Fighter 6, but it's still been
this
like
announcement
6
was
years.
at midnight Eastern time.
Yeah, I completely forgot. I thought it was too,
and then I saw something on Twitter, and I'm like, "This is in an hour." I'm like, "I'm going to bed." I was like,
"Yeah." Well, no, I was in the same boat. I think because I think it was like 11 o'clock my time, and I was like kind of tired, and I was just like, "I guess I'll just wait to see what this is." So, Street Fighter 6 officially announced a very stylish trailer of a just gigantic Ryu, like looks like Brock Lesnar Ryu. And nothing else. That was it. Just a stylish trailer and basically saying there'll be more news in the summer. So kind of lackluster, I would hope, because this was at the end of a fighting game tournament, or Street Fighter tournament specifically. We would just see something more than what we got. But this is probably just something you announce just to see if you can bump up your like investor numbers or something before the end of the fiscal year.
Keep people from trying to buy you. Keep them, stay them away. like, hey, we're fine.
Just to increase the price. They also announced something that I was more interested in. The Capcom Fighting Collection was announced, and this is like 10 old games being packaged together, kind of like how we saw the Street Fighter 30th anniversary. This was nice just because there's like some Darkstalkers games in there,
which is a fighting game you were talking about. You're like, hey, can we get a new one? And you're like, and then I was like, I don't even know what that is, but hey, at least you're getting something.
Getting something, and it's just one of those things where me being a dumb consumer, I'm going to be like, okay, I have to buy this now, just in hopes that like there's someone who's tracking that data. Adding online play to all the games. I think there's going to be like a museum mode as well. They're just better resolution.
It is at least getting up-resed. Okay.
Yeah. So very basic stuff. Basically everything they did for the Street Fighter 30th anniversary, which was a good package.
Yeah, and that's fine if you're going to release it at one package of 10 games. Like it's not like it's 1 or 3. Like this is 10. Like it's probably going to be $60, $70 or whatever. Like.
Yeah, it's going to be a full release coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch.
But it's 10 games. Like, that's a tremendous value.
It's going to have the music player that the 30th anniversary had, and it's going to be like 100 tracks because it's 10 games.
Awesome.
So there's a ton of music in here, a gallery of like concept art and arcade art. So pretty cool. I also really like the cover art.
Good job.
Yeah, I was excited more about this than a Street Fighter reveal because there's at least gameplay of this.
I think this was the plan. Like, I think that this game was supposed to be, this collection was going to be announced. And they're like, we got to do something else cooler. And they're like, okay, let's just, people know what's coming, but let's put a timer up there. Let's say Street Fighter 6, and then let's show this.
Yeah, this was excited. This is already up for pre-order, so I'm sure like people jumped on it. And just talking to my friends that are into fighting games, they're in the same boat where they're like, well, I want another Darkstalkers. This is the best way for me to show Capcom.
And this fits like you and your friend's playstyle. Like this is totally something that you and your buddies, I think, would be Friday night, Saturday night over at your place, just kicking each other's butt for a couple hours drinking, right?
Yeah. This would be perfect. Like I just got to get some fight sticks or some game pads because I might pick it up on the Switch just because I kind of just like the box art on the Switch, or I might double dip because I'm crazy. I still think tangent. I think the Switch has the best case, like presentation.
Oh yeah,
of all the games. I don't know, something about the sleek case with the red like spine.
It's the largest case for the smallest cartridge.
Yeah, I there's something about like Switch cases that I really liked. Where anytime there's a physical release, I'm just like, okay, this will probably play well enough on the Switch.
Yeah, they just feel better too. Like the cases, like actually, like they have some more substantials to it. I don't have any PS5 cases because I can't, but
the PS5 and
it's the PS4 is the blue. It's the same blue, I think.
Yeah. They have the same issue though, where like half the time the disc just gets loose in the case, and it's
the Switch cartridges ain't going nowhere when you put them in there.
They're just fine. Sometimes they come with like really adorable manuals that are just like this tiny little like credit card size thing. I don't know. Really like the Switch, so I end up picking this up on the Switch, and then I'll probably get a digital download of the PS4 because I'm a sad weirdo. All right. Last story. I just put this on here. Because it's just Square Enix being Square Enix. They are disappointed with the initial sales of Guardians of the Galaxy. So they said specifically, the HD game sub-segment launched Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy in Q3. Despite strong reviews, the game sales on launch undershot our initial expectations. They did follow this up, though, with, however, sales that we kicked off in November and continued into the new year have resulted in sales growth, and we intend to work to continue to expand sales to make up for the title's slow start. Dave, we kind of love when Capcom, or not Capcom, when Square Enix does this with their Western development.
So first of all, I think Square Enix has an unrealistic expectation of how much a game is going to sell within the first week.
Especially Western developed games.
For like whatever reason.
Western developers.
And then I also feel like they have a really high expectation of however much goddamn money this Marvel contract cost them. Because I've only played like an hour of this game, but this was on your top 3 last year?
Yes.
So, I mean, this is a good game. This is a great game. There are plenty of people that are saying great things about Guardians of the Galaxy, enough that it's on my list, and I think it'll be March or April when I play it, I think. Also, I think it struggled with people being confused of, is this similar to Avengers? I don't want something else similar to Avengers. And it took some time for that to get out that it wasn't. And also, it came in November was a terrible month to release this game.
Yeah. Well, also, just like from the gameplay stuff they showed, they only really focused on the actual gameplay, not the story. And anyone that's played this game,
the dialogue and the banter,
is so much better. And the gameplay is kind of like, it's okay.
And I felt that still led to that confusion of, is it as games as a service? Because the first thing that I saw was damage numbers and health bars.
Mm-hmm.
And that immediately screams builds, diversity, weapons, loot, service, typically, right?
Kinda, but I saw that more of like, what kind of RPG are they trying to
RPG service,
and it wasn't that, Right. But I can see that confusion, especially coming after the Avengers. But the thing that cracks me up about this,
and the multiple characters, the different characters on the screen at the same time. So you saw 2, 3, 4 people on screen at the same time. You saw health bars. You saw damage numbers. Like a multiplayer cooperative. And it wasn't. It was none of that.
Yeah. When you see it, you're like, co-op, and they're like, no. I'm like, but you get to play as like Gamora and Drax. Like, no. It's only Quill, which they did show that in the first trailer. But I feel like anytime they showed gameplay, people were like, I think I'd like to play as like everybody,
right?
A little bit, not knowing that the story was so good, and that should have been the focus. But specifically when it comes to like Avengers, you think after Avengers bombed the way it did, that Square would then lower their expectations for their next game just to give it a shot to meet those numbers. But they're like, Avengers bombed. Guardians, we know, is a better game. Let's just pretend everyone has amnesia.
It kills your morale of your studios. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Why do they keep doing this? Like, I just don't know.
Eidos Montreal did a fantastic job on this game. Game. I bought it. Yeah, I bought it on sale. But the only reason I bought it on sale is because I knew I wanted to play it, and I was going to get it. And within a month of it being out, it was on sale.
Yeah, which is what they're referring to of like, well, we did some things to bump up the sales, but
lowered the price,
putting it on sale. But I feel like they didn't take advantage of nearly all the praise it got during all of the Game of the Year stuff sites were doing, because it popped up in I don't think it won any major Game of the Year awards, but it was at least in a discussion
Yeah.
way more than people expected it to be.
It was in a lot of people's Final Fours. A lot.
Yeah.
That's a big
And
deal for as many, last year was a little bit of considered to be a rougher year for games, but when you're in the same paragraph as like Ratchet and Clank, like that's a win. Like,
yeah, if you're in we gave Halo Infinite shit, but like
yeah.
when you're in the same conversation as Halo, Ratchet and Clank, and you're also a game that no one really expected much from you because the previous Square Enix Marvel game was,
I mean, whatever Marvel
bad
franchise Eidos Montreal gets to work on again, I'm probably gonna buy.
Yeah, but at this point, it almost sounds like Square is like, we cannot wait to be done.
Yeah,
with this Marvel Gambit.
I feel like that, maybe I can't think of their name right now. The studio that did Marvel's Avengers, like maybe that wasn't
Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah, Crystal Dynamics. That wasn't necessarily the best choice for a games as a service company, but Eidos Montreal, because Eidos Montreal did Deus Ex stuff, right?
Yeah, but that was just a straight up like 100-hour RPG.
Right, but I mean, I think that they did a good job, and they should get some more credit. Like maybe you overpriced your game. Like maybe this was really only supposed to be a $40 game.
Yeah, or maybe you should have pivoted the advertising to be like, we have this really good story and you should play this, as opposed to them being like, oh, look at the gunplay, and people being like,
right.
We're okay with that. I just wonder, like, they're still supporting the Avengers somewhat. I'm assuming that's going to ramp down, start to ratchet down. But does Square do a Guardians 2? Or are they kind of locked into then do like another Marvel game before they do Guardians 2? Like, I want to know how deep this like contract goes at this point. Are we going to get a chance at a Guardians 2? Or is Square just so like over, having these Marvel games kind of flop for them? Because no matter, at this point, like, they can keep putting Guardians on sale, but if their expectations for launch were not met, putting the game on sale for like half off isn't going to help their overall bottom line that they were expecting. It's just going to salvage and make it a little bit better. But
for it to show on a chart, but we always talk about when it shows on a chart, when a game shows up on a chart, game comes out in June, shows up on a chart in September, like, oh, it was on promo.
So. Yeah, and then we know what that means money-wise. It's like, oh, so it didn't sell at $60, but it sold at $40, so you lost $20. That would be the mentality of an investor. So I wonder how much Square is going to put into this. It kind of just reminds me of like EA with Star Wars, where it's just like, it's not really working.
This is Fallen Order. Guardians of the Galaxy is Fallen Order.
But Fallen Order sold, at least, apparently, and Guardians just disappointed Square. But who we don't know, though, because it's Square, what their expectations actually were. Because
we want 9 million copies.
Yeah, we've seen this before, where like, I think Tomb Raider, the first one, it sold 3 million copies, and they're like, that was a real disappointment. It's like, it was console exclusive for a year. like, what did you expect?
Cut off the larger user base. What did you think was going to happen?
It was console exclusive for the worst selling console in like memory.
Yeah.
Fucking Square Enix, man. It blows my mind every time.
That's why you and I can never sit at a boardroom table. We get kicked out.
Yeah, we'd be too frustrated.
All right, so that's our news for the week. I don't believe anything has been delayed. So we'll jump right into what we're planning on watching. Talking to Michael earlier, I think both of ours are going to be a little short. So I had some housework going on a lot this week, getting some stuff cleaned up again. I've did tons as the 6-month decluttering of the house has been continuing. We got a lot of clutter out though, so it was good. And then getting ready to change stores, like I had mentioned. So that's. I actually don't like knowing about it as far in advance as I do. I have a hard time at my store right now. Like, I don't care. I care, but I don't. And then playing. So I messed around just a little bit more with Frozen Wilds. It's not grabbing me as much as I want to, but I will go back to it, Horizon Frozen Wilds, before I go into Forbidden West, just to make sure that I'm like fresh with the story and everything, in case there's something referenced in Frozen Wilds that's needed or referenced in Forbidden West. I'm hearing some really, really good things about Forbidden West outside of reviews, so that's good. I'm also hearing it's much bigger, which is terrifying. So, and then I did start Destiny Witch Queen today. Server issues were minimal, about an hour, and most people were in about 10 or 15 minutes. And then if you tried to get in like a little after launch, like I did, then you had about an hour wait. But
did you disconnect before starting this podcast?
I did, and I realized that probably might have been a mistake, but it is what it is. So usually the initial bump is gone or whatever. Who knows? But anyway, if I didn't disconnect, I think it was going to disconnect me. So.
Just give it to Owen. Just tell him to move this analog stick every 10 minutes. That's what we had to do for Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I know. Just put the little bird thing to hit the X button. It's so far like there's some really interesting storytelling. They're doing a better job of like Michael has mentioned for years. I think they're doing a little bit better job of presenting the lore in the game. So like they're showing it whether it's in a quick cutscene or in dialogue as you're in the missions. It has a legendary campaign mode which feels super rewarding. I'm purposely trying to play it on solo to see how far I can get until I get frustrated. Just because I'm enjoying the slightly harder experience. Typically in the campaigns I've always just snowballed through them. And not really cared. And my goal was to kind of just get through the campaign as fast as possible. But it looks like early on that they're trying to tell a really cool story. And it seems like it might be something there with some dialogue and some moving back and forth. And there's twists and things that are happening. And I'm very interested to see how this goes. I also don't, but at the same time, I don't want it to be too long because if you do a campaign that's too long, you start to lose your player base of like, oh, just get through the campaign and you can play with us, or we can do the raid. And they are rewarding you for completing the legendary campaign with like high numbered power level stat gear. But if the campaign ends up being, as much as I hate to say it, a 12 or 15 hour campaign, like that's not going to be, like I just want to get to the fun stuff with the guys, like with the group, and you have to go through a 12 or 15 hour thing to do that. That's not good. So that balance is in there. Like hopefully it's around the 8 hour port. Maybe for me 10 or 12 because I'm playing it on the harder difficulty and I'm playing it solo. But so far I am enjoying it, and it seems like it's solid. The weapon crafting it's still very new for me right now, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm getting weapons to drop with the special border on it where I can start pulling perks out, but the weapon crafting looks a little overwhelming currently. And I haven't messed with it too long, but the new weapon, the glaive, which is like a projectile sword, shield, melee weapon, sucks. So like, you know how Destiny's added bows over the years? This is a glaive, which is a first-person projectile weapon. Like, it's kind of hard to explain what it is, but you can hit people with the bottom of it, and you can hit them with the front of it, and you can also shoot it. But so far, early on, it's not very good. So that's where I'm at with that. And then we did, over the weekend, my wife and I went and saw the Uncharted movie. Have you seen it yet?
No, I almost did, but I was like, I don't want to do that to myself.
It's
like,
good.
Even
I thought it was solid. Like, I thought it was solid. Like, if you played the games, there's some cool things in the games that'll show it to you. There's some things that are progressing through. Like, there's stuff from all 4 games all over. Mm-hmm. So, and the banter between Holland and Wahlberg is solid. The relationship there is solid, and there is a little bit of a problem. I don't feel like Wahlberg has the Sully presence that we've been used to over the last 4 games. But I feel like Holland did a very good job playing Nathan Drake.
Yeah, Tom Holland's kind of hitting that point with me where I feel like I see him too much, even though he only really does Spider-Man
like the Chris Pratt level.
Yeah, where I just see him just a little too much, and he kind of just plays the same character, it seems, and I'm just like, I don't know.
He does a pretty good job with this, though. He does really a pretty good job with this. There's a couple, like, I'm sure I missed some, but there was a couple cool, quick Easter eggs of things that if you like, even players that maybe played the games wouldn't catch. But you know, there's some cool stuff in the movie, Easter egg wise, and it's good. It's good. Like, I was pleasantly surprised. I went in with minimal expectation of like, okay, this is a video game movie, and I came out of there like, okay, that's good. They're teasing I feel like they're teasing a second movie, and money wise, it's doing great.
Yeah,
like fantastic, and it hasn't even come out in Asia yet or China.
Yeah, and that's always tricky on like, will it actually? Because it's they last second they'll pull movies from
so
that
if
region.
it's doing great without it, and then if it does come out, like that's just huge money for them. That's just like icing on the cake. That's like another layer of icing on top of an already really good cake. So, but I really enjoyed it. So if you're on the fence about it, like go see it. I don't know. I can't give the perspective. I haven't had a chance to talk to somebody that's seen it that maybe hasn't played the games yet, so I can't give that perspective. Angela has watched me play all of the games, so it wasn't like her leaning over in the middle of the movie like, what's going on? Like there was nothing like that happening, so I was happy with it. Yeah, that's pretty much it for playing and watching for me. So.
Well, for me, I've been doing some certification stuff, so I've been just a little distracted from actually getting game time in. So my Dying Light progress is not improved since last week. Still early going with that. I did find myself playing a lot of the action arcade wrestling I spoke about last week, just because it being on a Switch makes it the ideal kind of handheld situation when you're kind of doing something else. To where I was watching All-Star Weekend for the NBA, so just having arcade wrestling. I really like the 3-point contest, which was good.
That's fine.
Slam dunk contest is always trashed the last couple years, or at least since like Levine and Gordon 2016. Which I agree with everyone. They should probably make the 3-point contest the
main event
show and the main event for Saturday. And then I do like the All-Star game. I do like the format that they have for the actual All-Star game.
Explain that again, because I know that like the first 3 quarters almost don't matter, and then whatever the score is, they add 24, and whoever gets to that number wins.
Yes. So it just
essentially
adds,
whoever scores 24 points first in the fourth quarter wins.
Well, it also depends on like what's the difference between the teams as well, because you might have a team that's down 10, so they have to score 34 points to win, and they turn off the clock.
Like, so if Team LeBron had 200 points going into the fourth quarter, their goal is to get to 224.
Yes,
and then if Team Durant team at 190, they got to get to 224.
Yeah, they would have to get 34 points.
That's an honor of Kobe Bryant, the 24.
Yes, and they renamed the MVP trophy the Kobe Bryant trophy. So I like that aspect of the game. It makes it just a little bit more exciting, though. To your point, the first 3 quarters feel like they don't really matter.
Yeah, but they're having fun then, and then they play ball.
I mean,
like
and then you saw that like they put in rotations that could win.
Yep.
Steph Curry was just like out of his mind. Like
16 3-pointers.
Yeah, 16. So like our action arcade like wrestling is really good in a situation because that doesn't have like a story or anything. It's just exhibition matches. So while I'm watching an exhibition game that I have to pay attention to, I can just have a match. Especially there's still a ton of commercials, so it's just like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna mess around with the mechanics of this fighting game, wrestling game, and watch the All-Star game as it gets better as time goes on. So still enjoying that. I've talked myself into trying to get the platinum for Sifu because I'm really liking this game, like way more than I expected to like this game.
Good.
I don't think I'm going to get the platinum because one of the trophy that's going to be impossible for me is beating the game under 25. I barely was able to get the trophy where you beat the game under 50, and I was 49 years old. So I need to figure out the
24 more years to shave. You'll be all right.
Well, that's kind of the fun aspect of it is you go into an area, I'm just like, okay, let me see if I can cut like 5 years off this one.
Yeah.
And just going into each area being like, okay, I made it to the first area without dying. So I'm 20 going into the second area, get out of the second area, and I'm 23. I'm like, shit, that's not good enough. Let me just go back and see what I can improve. The only good thing is it's a good way to grind to get different moves unlocked to where I almost have all the moves unlocked. So now it's just going to be, as soon as I unlock all the moves, it's going to come down to like just my skill level at the game.
Well, your skill level and your perseverance, your willingness to like keep trying.
So I got to determine if I'm willing to just stop where I'm at now, like one trophy short, or if I'm just going to just keep grinding any day.
Yeah, somebody should look up the trophy data and be like, Michael, there's only like 19 people that have it. Like, come on, man.
It's 3.7%.
Oh, really? That's pretty good, actually.
Wow. Especially where this game was.
Yeah, you just suck.
Well, it's funny though because like before the game came out and I was looking at where reviewers were just beating the bosses, I was like, oh my god, the reviewers don't know what the fuck they're doing. And those numbers have improved now that the actual public is playing the game, and just seeing those percentages increase over time, and I'm just like, shit, I'm just not good at this game anymore. While when I was comparing myself to the other reviewers, it was like, holy shit, I'm really good at this game. And now it's in the general public. I'm like, fuck, I'm really mediocre at this game.
But you're having fun. That's the part that matters the most. So
yeah. So I'm just kind of grinding away in that. And then Uncharted 3, almost done with that. I'm like 80% of the way through that game.
You gotta go see the movie after you beat all the games, man.
Yeah, I probably will, but hopefully it'll just be available to stream at that point. And I'll pay a premium just to stream it. But it's funny, like Uncharted 3, I talked about this like 2 weeks ago. It was my least favorite game, but the more I progressed through it, I'm just like, shit, this is actually pretty solid, to where I'm just like, I'm kind of going to reorganize my list. It's still Uncharted 2 number 1, but now it's like, maybe it's
one did not age well. Like 1 did not age well.
Like 1 was above 3 on my list, and now I'm just like, okay, actually 1's at the bottom now until I play Golden Abyss.
For me, right off the top of my head, it's 2, 4, 3, 1. So,
and that's basically where my list is gonna end up, probably at the end of it. Because man, even 2, like towards the end of 2, I was like, man, 2 is still one of the greatest games ever. And then I get towards the end of 2, and I'm like, fuck, I hate this ending. But it's still better than like 4, which didn't have any bullshit, but was just too long. So I have a full opinion. Oh, but if we include Lost Legacy, it's probably 2, Lost Legacy 4, in terms of my order of them, because I really like Lost Legacy.
I gotta mess with Lost Legacy.
So that is pretty much it. Just those games, All-Star Break. Also, I watched All-Star Break because there was 2 bulls in it, and there hasn't been 2 bulls in an All-Star game in quite a while. Yeah, so I'm just like, let me enjoy this. And they were not opposite ends of the teams, or opposite teams, which was kind of fun.
Nice.
But yeah, that's it. I'll play some more Dying Light 2. I'm going to carve some specific time because I'm a little ahead of schedule in my certification process, that I can take a little bit of a break for it and not be punished. So we'll do some more Dying Light 2.
Cool. All right, not a ton of questions this week, so you can send us questions. Actually, we only got 1, but you can send us questions using hashtag AskDigitalDays. Post them on Facebook, post them on Discord, put them on Twitter. We'll find them, send them to us, we'll try to answer them. So, Anthony Allen writes, do either of you have any standout hardware failures, and have you ever repaired yourself or paid to refurbish / repair consoles, handheld, or peripherals? I've had a lot of consoles fail me over the years. Considering how expensive all this gear is, it's disheartening to have things break down. I've had a couple issues with HDMI ports recently that we just took to somebody, like a U-Break iFix place, and they did a pretty good job with that. But I don't really tend to mess with anything super crazy like that. Like, I've been hesitant to like take apart my controllers, my DualShock controllers, and just to try to fix like the drift on the sticks. So I can't really think of the last time I really kind of like opened something up. The one that comes to mind, and it's not even wasn't even that big of a deal. Like, I guess putting the PS3 hard drive in was probably the most intrusive thing that I did to a PlayStation. I mean, right? No, but I definitely don't. I've never, like, and I know you have, like, I've never resoldered anything, or or done any of that stuff like that. That's just too hard. So.
You did recently replace the PS5. Or you added a hard drive to your PS5.
Yeah, but that was super easy. Like
was that easier than the 4s and 3s then?
Yeah, you pop the side. You pop the side off, the white cover, which you just like kind of put your hand on like the top left corner and the bottom right corner, and you pull up and then slide up, and then it was one screw. You take off the hard drive cover, you put the SSD drive, or you take out the little spacer that's there. You put the drive in. You line up the drive, put the spacer back in, set the drive on the spacer, screw it back down, and then it just clicks in, and then put the cover back on, and then snap the other cover. It was like 10 minutes, like total.
Yeah.
It probably took me longer to open the package that the SSD came in than it did to put it in the PlayStation.
Were you, like, I've cleaned out the fan in my PS5. How worried were you with how much you have to, like, flex that?
A little bit. Like, that's what I was kind of concerned about. I had to watch a video, like, once or twice just to see how it came off, and then when it came off, I was actually surprised at how clean it was. Because like where my system sits in my living room, it sits like there's enough space for it to breathe, but it's always like that shelf is always super dusty. There's like a Google Home there, there's the PlayStation 5 there, and now there's the Xbox Series there, and that's all that sits on the shelf. And but like electronics like just attract dust, you know.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh boy, and like there was actually surprisingly and more dog hair in it. I was like, what the heck? Because my dog sheds. So
yeah, I was more surprised. Like the PS5 seems to catch a lot of that stuff just on the outer vents, like really well, to where like my fan was pretty clean, but those outer vents were filthy.
Yeah,
so I was kind of impressed.
My
with
outer
how,
vents aren't that bad actually either. So
yeah, I have cats, so like that cat hair, I guess, is just thick enough that it got stuck on the outer vents as opposed to the dog hair.
And it wasn't even that much dog hair. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, you know.
Yeah.
So.
All right, for me, long history of doing this stuff. So I have revived a yellow light PlayStation, but not for long. So I did the thing where you replace the thermal paste, and that temporarily helped. So I had a PS3 that would instantly yellow light, and doing the thermal paste and cleanup was able to get me to where I was able to turn it on for a couple months where it worked, and then it eventually started yellow light again. You kind of have to reflow. There's also let's say NEC capacitors. You have to rip those off and then solder new ones. But when I mean rip them off, I don't mean desoldering. I mean like literally peel like an onion a capacitor, which is like
and I'm
something.
just so scared to do like permanent damage to something like that. I'd rather just pay somebody.
Yeah, so I haven't gone that far and done the capacitor fix for PS3. I am actually going to revive another PS3 soon. That luckily it yellow lights like after an hour or two of use. So I'm hoping just doing the thermal paste, and I might reflow the board, which is literally just taking a heat gun to the board so the solder can like, you know, get like melty and then reconnect itself. So I am going to be trying that very soon. Hopefully that will go better than the previous yellow light, which again was instantly yellow lighting, and the fix only revived it for a little bit. So I'm hoping this one doesn't need the capacitors to be swapped out, because I've just had bad luck doing that. I did have a Game Gear that was having the capacitor issue, because capacitors only last, especially the ones in the Game Gear, only last like 10 to 15 years, and the Game Gear is like 30 years old at this point. So went through the process of replacing every capacitor, because it's hard to tell which ones leaked and which ones didn't, and I had it open, so I'm like, let me just change all 20 of these capacitors, because it'd be stupid if I changed 5 of the leaky ones only for the other ones to leak later.
20 capacitors, that's crazy.
Yeah. Around the 18th capacitor, everything's going smooth, and then I get to a capacitor that didn't look like it leaked too much, but the leak was so bad that it ended up ripping up the contact pad on the board. So on like the 18th capacitor, all my work was for nothing, because it was just
the board was fried.
Which was disappointing. I still ended up replacing the screen shield. So now I just have a Game Gear that's like really clean looking for display, because my soldering skills are really rusty. I took a class in high school and then didn't solder for like 15 years. So well, not 15 years. 10th anniversary was like 2 years. Whatever. I'm old. Like 12, 13 years. So I don't know if I have enough confidence in my ability to like figure out how to fix the contact pads on that board. I know the process, but I just don't know if it'll be worth it for this Game Gear, because I don't know what damage that capacitor did to the board overall, even if I replace the contact pad. But that's my experience. I would never pay to get stuff fixed, just because I just like tinkering with stuff. But that's just in my like nature with stuff. Unless it was like I had a TV break, I didn't want to fix that. I paid someone to fix the TV, because I'm just like, I'm not opening this up and then having this like 50-inch screen break on me or something. But if it's something small electronics, I'll at least give it a shot. Like I'm gonna try and revive some like DS SPs soon, or not DS, Game Boy SPs. So I like doing that. My success rate isn't very good though.
That's why I don't like doing it, because if I spend a significant amount of time, my success rate isn't good. I don't handle it well. So.
If it's already broken though, I'm just like, what's the worst that can happen?
But if I'm trying to fix something, it's because I want it. Like, you know, like it's because
most of my stuff is like, oh, this Game Gear is just going to be in a drawer. Let me just try and fix it. Same thing with the Game Boys.
All right, I guess we can try this with you because I think Angela might be fascinated. So, what is your favorite cookie?
Oh, I'll just answer. Chocolate chip is my favorite. She does say, why is it oatmeal raisin? I will say oatmeal cookies are fine.
Oh, okay.
They're okay.
Do you like Girl Scout cookies? Because that's kind of the season right now.
I like the shortbread ones.
Okay.
A lot. So I like those. But when it comes to like oatmeal cookies, I feel like you can't like binge eat them like chocolate chips or whatever. You can have like one oatmeal cookie, and then that's kind of.
Do you like oatmeal cookies, or do you like oatmeal raisin cookies, or do you classify them as the same thing?
I don't like raisin
Okay.
cookies. I just like straight up oatmeal cookies.
Okay.
But that's pretty much it for cookies. Chocolate chip and then like the shortbread Girl Scout cookies are probably the best. Oreos are okay too, but I get kind of same thing with the oatmeal one. After a couple Oreos, I get kind of disgusted by them and don't want to see them for a while. But Chip Ahoy's,
but say if you're in the grocery store and Chips Ahoy's are on sale, you're buying them.
Yeah, and they're gone within like 2-3 days.
Okay. All right. So again, you can send us questions using hashtag AskDigitalDays.
You didn't answer.
It's oatmeal. I mean, I eat a ton of oatmeal raisin cookies. So,
okay.
Like, yeah. But I don't really know if I've actually met a cookie that I don't like.
Yeah, I'll try. Like if oatmeal
other than
are
like Thin Mints, Girl Scout cookie Thin Mints, like no.
Oh yeah, I don't like mint chocolate ice cream. Anything. Mint,
I don't mind
really,
mint. I just don't like mint and chocolate together.
Yeah, no, I hate that.
But then, like in terms of like Girl Scout cookies, like probably my favorite ones are Tagalongs. Mm-hmm. So they're like Reese's. Like the only thing that sucks now is I feel like there's less cookies in each box every year.
Pretty much.
And I'm also at the point where like almost anybody that I know, if they're selling cookies, I buy them because I like to support the people and I like the product. So it's like,
and then when you explain it to other people, you're like, I'm just supporting my friend. That's why I have 10 boxes of cookies in my car.
And I am trying to obviously be a little more cognizant of what I'm eating. So like in the lunch, I get like 3 cookies in my lunch. Yeah, and I do eat a lot of cookies. Like I can eat an entire sleeve of Oreos. So just like in a sitting.
I could do that, but then I can't touch them for like a month.
Oh, I could do it every day.
No.
All right, so that's our show for today, for the week. So thank you guys so much for hanging out in the Twitch chat and for listening. And if, as always, you can send us the questions, you can send us feedback. You can check out the Facebook group, the Discord server. We've got a patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming, where there's like $1 chip jar, $3 Discord access. $5 gets you the podcast a day early, so you get it Wednesday morning instead of Thursday morning, and then $7 gets you the monthly bonus episode. It is almost the end of February, so we need to figure something out. I was hoping we could do Uncharted, but no. So maybe April. But we'll see. So as always, send us suggestions for Patreon episodes. Next week, Dying Light 2 conversation, maybe.
Yeah, I'll be more into Dying Light 2. I'm sure you'll be finished with Witch Queen and complaining about it being too short or too long.
I don't know what I want from it, actually. Like, so
I know. That's what I'm saying. We'll just figure out next week. Yeah,
I'll be curious because, like I said before, like the reward they're giving you for completing it actually makes me want to think about using the second and third characters to get stuff. If there's other things, if it can help me, however crafting works. If it's like if I can work on leveling up my weapons for crafting with my other character while playing the campaign to get the gear that I need, like there's this huge loop that's like not connected yet. And if it's a long campaign, like I'm not doing the second and third characters. I don't care what you're giving me. Like, so it's just an interesting dynamic. It seemed like there was a lot of people playing it, so we'll see. It's if you want me to stream it, let me know. Typically what I've determined is that when I stream Destiny 2, I don't get a lot of views or interactions, which is fine. Everybody's on their own watches or enjoys what they want to enjoy or don't want to enjoy, or the people that I think would watch me play Destiny 2 would just play it with me. So
yeah, they're all in the party chat.
Yeah, so like that's fine. But if it's something you want to see, just let me know and I'll be happy to stream it. So other than that, I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick.